The truth about changing your self-concept is a lot messier, but also more powerful than what you've been told. If you want to know what you may be missing, here are 7 things that you need to know. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Lorena, I'm a somatic self-concept and identity coach, and I support you in bridging the gap between who you currently are or perceive yourself to be and who you desire to be or become. If you're on a self-concept journey, whether you're just starting out or you've been working on it for a while but feel a bit stuck in some areas, I've got some crucial insights for you today. Some of these points that I have for you might blow your freaking mind. Others you might recognize, but trust me, there's something in here for everyone. So let's dive into the 7 things that you didn't know about changing your self-concept, starting with number 1. No matter how rigid your identity may seem, you're never stuck with who you have been. Your identity isn't static. It's always evolving, even when you don't do anything about it. That's because every experience you make, every choice you make, changes you. You're never exactly who you were yesterday, and so you're never stuck with who you have been, and you have a choice every day to do something differently. In fact, the very perception that you are trapped in who you've always been might actually keep you from evolving. Now, the only caveat to this is that whilst your self-concept is always evolving, the deeper beliefs that you unconsciously hold on to, that you may not even be aware of, they can remain a bit static unless you do the work to consciously resolve them. But I want you to remember that who you think you are is not necessarily who you are. In fact, most likely it's not who you are. And I don't care how rigid your identity may seem, or how long you've been in the same patterns or the same cycles or the same perception of yourself, it is changeable. When you start the process of intentionally and effectively transforming your self-concept, and I'll get into more about this in the coming points, transformation, evolution, is the only way forward. It's the only possible outcome. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it all clicks into place. The second truth, or what you didn't know, is that changing your self-concept is not a conscious process. It cannot be disconnected from the subconscious or the nervous system. Now, this is so important because we're only really able to change things consciously, especially when we do it by ourselves. Yeah, you're aware of your conscious thoughts, but really doing the work to become aware of what's going on in your subconscious and then integrating and changing that and transforming that, that's not easy. And it tends to be very hidden. And this is where and why a lot of self-concept work remains surface level for people. You may try to do the conscious work to shift your mindset, to shift your self-perception, and that will give you some progress. That will definitely create some shifts for you. But the core perception you have of yourself and the main things that you probably want to change because they seem the most sticky or the most persistent, that part of your self-concept, that part of your identity is often built and shaped through the beliefs, the trauma, and the state that's attached to your subconscious, not your conscious. So in order to truly transform your self-concept, you need to change your subconscious identity more so than your conscious one, because the conscious one often isn't the culprit, it's more the symptom. The only conscious thing you can really do is to make the decision to embark on this journey and to do this work. All the rest of the process needs to happen in your subconscious and in your nervous system, which is where your subconscious lives anyway. Now, that's why it can sometimes feel like you're stuck or like your self-concept is really hard to change or you feel like you're stagnating. It's because your identity is shaped at the subconscious level, and it just means that you haven't gotten to the root of it yet, or you haven't changed what's at the root yet. So all this means that the changes need to happen in your subconscious, but that also means that as this happens, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions will naturally align with your new self-concept. So that will lead to noticeable shifts within your reality and the way you feel about and within yourself. So this should feel really natural. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to force yourself to be some way you're not. It shouldn't be a case of trying to fake it till you make it, or making yourself not react to your external circumstances, or making yourself take certain actions. What I often hear from my clients in Recreate Yourself is that at the end they don't have to force themselves to take certain action steps anymore. It's natural for them to now think and feel and behave differently because of who they have become. That's because the transformation has happened internally in their subconscious, in their self-identity at the core, and that's what impacts everything. A lot of the actions you take are unconscious. A lot of the thoughts you have are unconscious. A lot of the feelings arising within you are unconscious. So once that shift happens, you don't have to make yourself do anything anymore. It's a lot easier, I promise you. And you begin to make new choices and take new actions based on who you have become. I would love to know if there's something that you have to try to consciously change about your self-concept, where you maybe got stuck or you felt like you made some changes but then it didn't last. Let me know. I'd love to hear it. And now the third point, a bit of a reality check. It's going to trigger the shit out of you. Now, if you're here watching this video, congratulations. Most people don't work on stuff like this. There's a reason most people never actually transform their self-concept. They stay in who they think they are. They stay in the patterns they've had their whole life out of familiarity, because breaking out of that is fucking uncomfortable. Many people stay in fantasy land. They have an idea of who they want to be. Maybe they even have the knowing that they have the potential to become that version of themselves, but they don't actually take the steps to embody her, to become her. Because if you start taking these steps, I promise you, it's going to get real uncomfortable. It's going to bring up wounds that you'd rather not look at or deal with. It's going to bring up parts of yourself that you've shamed. You're going to have to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself and who you have been. It's never easy. I am currently myself healing something that I feel so much resistance to looking at, because there's such a deep pain and shame and guilt attached to it. It's not easy. You're going to find where you're self-sabotaging, where you're avoiding. It's going to bring up discomfort, sometimes trauma, and often a lot of resistance. And your current self-concept may very well be shaped by trauma. So it's only natural that it shows up to be healed when you begin working on your self-concept. Because when you begin working on your self-concept, your ego will resist that. So that's why most people will stop midway when the discomfort shows up. Instead of allowing themselves to be supported in it, to get into a safe space where they can be held in that discomfort, where they can be kept accountable and supported in it, they just stop because it's too much. Or they get stuck in these sticky emotions, and they might call that a purge. I hear this one a lot. When it's just a recycling of the same emotional states and triggers again and again and again without resolution. So a lot of the messaging that I've seen over the years really paints self-concept transformation or identity shifts as this choice you make, and then you just show up as this new version of yourself, and ta-da! But truly doing this work is not for the faint-hearted. It requires a lot of resilience. One of my clients who recently started Recreate Yourself said to me, "You weren't lying when you said this wasn't going to be an easy ride." So what can help you with this is the clarity that what you're doing is actually bringing you closer to your goals through the right process, through the right guidance, having community and support so you don't have to go through it alone, and also building the resilience and the capacity in your nervous system in order to be able to face that discomfort in a safe way without re-traumatizing yourself. Facing the discomfort and the resistance is essential to releasing the old and embracing the new. Let me know if any of this feels familiar to you, because I feel like it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Either the purges or this experience of wanting to change your self-concept, and then your ego or the resistance, bam, comes in and wants to stop you. Share a comment below, because I'd love to hear what comes up for you with this. Now, number 4 is that it's not a quick fix. It's not a combination of techniques. It has to be an intentional process. There are so many missing pieces that I see in people who are trying to change their self-concept. It's not about doing something wrong. It's about the fact that there are holes in their approach. For example, many people will just do a bunch of techniques, maybe affirmations or meditations or any modality really, and they hope that that's going to completely shift their identity. They hope it's going to break their patterns, but it's not that simple. If it was as simple as just doing all these practices and then it works, everyone would be in their desired version of themselves. I always say changing your self-concept is a full-blown rebirth. It's a dismantling of everything you thought you knew about yourself and then rebuilding from there. It's not a quick fix or overnight shift, even when it seems that way. If you want it to last and not be a fleeting idea, you have to have all the elements in place. You need a solid foundation in your self-concept, in your subconscious, in your nervous system. It's not just about thinking that you're a different person. You need to feel that transformation in your body. It needs to be your new normal. It needs to be what's natural to you, not what you're faking until you make it. You're not acting as if. You're being it. That's the result that it needs to be. I have a free self-concept mastery blueprint and daily checklist linked in the description box for you. You can download it and it will give you an insight into one of the frameworks and the elements that I use with my clients for their self-concept evolution, and it also gives you tangible practices and tips so that you can stay on track. The next truth or thing you didn't know is that it is felt, not assumed. Now, I cannot stress this enough because often the word self-concept is used in the manifestation and law of assumption community. Like when I do some research to create new videos, it's usually almost all of it has to do with manifestation that shows up. And it makes sense because a lot of these people will refer to the Christian mystic Neville Goddard, who used the word self-concept a lot. And I think his teachings are great. He's also had a big influence on me and on my work. But to me, your self-concept is about so much more than just assumption. It's a becoming. Because when you make it about assumption, you're just staying in thought. You're staying in your mind. And often just your conscious mind, because your subconscious is really felt in the body as well. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about here. Leave a comment if you get what I'm saying when you have this experience of having this gap between thinking about the person that you wish to be and actually being her. A true shift in your self-concept is embodied. It impacts how you feel within yourself. Not just who you think you are, but who you feel you are. It impacts how you carry yourself and walk through the world. It impacts how you talk, even down to your voice. To me, that's the biggest part of the client success stories that I have. I sometimes wish I could just show you what a client looks like on the first coaching call and then the last one. Obviously, I will not do that because confidentiality. But as awesome as it is, if they, let's say, go from a non-committal situationship to having a loving union or any tangible result that they've been seeking, I really love seeing the shift in the way they talk and their confidence and how they hold themselves, the glow they have, the groundedness in their voice. That's the big win. You can probably even see this one in me if you look back at my old videos. God, makes me cringe to think about it. But my voice sounds completely different. How I hold myself is completely different. I was, in comparison to now, so disembodied, so ungrounded. You can see the shift from then till now in my self-concept pretty clearly. And you can see that without even having context of all the changes I've experienced in my life and in my reality. It really is about the feeling and the embodiment and the felt experience and the lived experience. Now, because of that, the way I teach you to change your self-concept has a huge somatic, meaning body-based element. That's in terms of the capacity and stability in your nervous system, in terms of subconscious reprogramming through the body, resolving trauma, the conscious embodiment of new feelings and new states, new beliefs, new desires. It's really holistic because you have to really feel it to become it. Otherwise, it just stays in the realm of imagination, or you stay in trying to change versus actually doing it. Number 6, becoming the version that you desire to be makes you freaking magnetic, and your outer reality will start shifting to match your new self-concept. Now, you've probably heard this one before, or maybe that's even your reason for wanting to change your self-concept, because that is the case for a lot of people. That was the case for me too. A lot of people want to change their identity, their self-concept, because of what they think or hope it may give them. Maybe you have a desire that you want to achieve, and you currently don't see yourself as capable of achieving that. Now, If that's the case, you need to work on your self-concept or your identity around that desire. Because if you don't have that identity, as I said previously, it's not going to be possible for you. If you don't see yourself as capable, you're not capable. But what I also want to emphasize when I talk about this magnetism that comes with changing your self-concept, that's not some woo-woo BS. The reason for this is because when you embody a new self-concept, you automatically show up differently. And you show up differently in your relationships, which people will notice. Even if they just notice that unconsciously or energetically, you carry yourself differently, with more confidence, with more groundedness, and the world will notice. We're all connected in this way. You've probably experienced this with other people too, like someone walks into a room and you just feel like they own that room. That's magnetism, and that is based on your self-concept. I have another really great free resource for you here, by the way. I have a free manifestation masterclass called Magnetic, and it's all about how to create that sense of magnetism. So I'll link that for you below as well, so you can watch the replay. It's completely free of charge too. But as you change your self-concept, the people around you will match that. They will notice in some way. Maybe they'll feel triggered, or maybe they'll feel expanded. Either way, they will mirror your transformation back to you. And that only reinforces the progress that you're making. You'll begin to attract opportunities that previously didn't exist for you. Your relationships will improve. What's not good for you or what you don't want will leave because your boundaries are so clear. You'll even notice people around you grow and expand and become better. I've had some mothers as clients over the years. I'm not a mother myself yet, but many of them have said that the reason they wanted to join my program and the reason they wanted to change their self-concept was because they wanted to set an example for their children. Like, how beautiful. And it's so true, because the work you do on your self-concept has a ripple effect on the people around you, on the world around you. It impacts both you and them positively. When you change your self-concept, your relationships will also shift. You'll attract new people who resonate with your new identity. Old relationships may evolve or fall away. Your boundaries and your self-worth will become clearer, which will lead to healthier interactions with others. It's so worth it. And then number 7, it's about the self, but doing it in isolation usually keeps you in your old self. Now, you have to remember that you're trying to change your identity. You're trying to change your self-concept from an identity that you've either outgrown or that you don't want to hold on to anymore. But you're still doing this work from that identity. Now, what I'm getting at here is that that identity is attached to old beliefs, unwanted patterns, feelings, perceptions, all the things that you don't actually want to hold on to any longer. Now, your subconscious beliefs tend to be so intertwined with your self-concept that you often can't see how much you identify with them. You often can't see how much you identify with that version of yourself and how attached you are to it. So that's why, although it's all about you, it's all about the self, no matter how much of an impact it has on your reality and the people around you, you are the starting point. It is best done with appropriate support. Obviously, I recommend high-level coaching, and community is great too, because you need others to help you see what you can't see. Because your ego will keep you in your old identity. Your subconscious will try to protect you from evolution, because change does not feel safe. That's why you keep getting pulled back into your old self. That's why you likely self-sabotage. And of course, having support or having community is also easier for you because it just helps you get there quicker. And it helps you get there with more safety and certainty when you have community and a coach or mentor who can really hold space for your evolution and also for the sticky emotions that show up on the path. You know, sometimes just knowing that you're not the only one going through the experiences you're going through can really soothe you and make you feel less isolated. And on the flip side, seeing other people's successes can make you feel more empowered too. It can make you feel like that's possible for me too. And of course, a coach or mentor can help you, guide you through the tough moments when you feel stuck, when you feel unsure, when the trauma comes up, the emotions get too big. This is honestly one of the major blocks that I see in people and that I hear from people, that they somehow feel like they have to do it themselves. There tends to be a lot of shameful messaging going on in the self-concept space where you feel like you have to do it all on your own. And somehow they feel like a failure if they don't do it alone. Fuck that. Changing your self-concept can be so disorienting when your sense of self begins to crumble. You don't have to go through that alone. In fact, I recommend that you don't. Now, changing your self-concept goes so much deeper than changing your mindset. It's a really radical rebirth of your sense of self. It's not easy, but when you do it right, the way you see and approach everything, your experience of life, and your reality will transform. If this resonated with you at all, let me know in the comments. What's one thing in your self-concept that you are wanting to shift? And be sure to tune in next week. We're gonna have a video around rejection and abandonment, which I'm excited for. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Switch on your notifications if you still need to so that you don't miss it. And I will see you next week.